Hi, and welcome back to our podcast, Reconfiguring Reality. I am Laura.
And I'm Jesse.
Chash.
The Jericho.
Today we will be discussing cheating in a relationship. All right, so to start off, I did research and I found that there are like 10 different ways of cheating and in a relationship.
What?
Yeah, and
Wait,
there's
10? How is there 10?
yeah, there's 10 different ways to cheat in a relationship. And there's different
I,
Wow.
different ways to describe cheating and like it was
You mean
crazy
like
the other
ASMR?
not sorry. Okay, so first, what is the cheating in a relationship? How would you define it?
emotional or physical relationship with someone outside of a relationship you're in?
Okay, according to
Eh,
Webster's dictionary, they define it infidelity, which is another word for cheating, as the act of having a romantic or sexual relationship with someone other than your partner. Cheating is not clearly defined as it can involve several things, and it goes beyond being sexually involved with a person that isn't your partner and can include having a deep conversation with another person.
But hold the phone. Like, if you're in an argument with your significant other and you go to another person to discuss that, that
That could be
Hey, here's
considered
my
cheating,
question though,
yes.
as like in regards to best friends and you're in a relation or you're married or whatever and you come to like let's say you and Jericho have a fight and you come to me and we're having deep conversations and you and I both love each other deep, and all that shit. I don't really consider that cheating.
According to some
yeah.
people, though, if Jericho and I got into an argument, I should resolve that with him and not somebody else.
I
But
agree, but
but
sometimes you need an outside perspective to understand, oh, maybe I'm wrong here, or maybe this could have been said in a different way. I don't. I mean, Jesse, I don't.
okay, so what you're telling me is that consider this. If I get in an argument with my significant other and then I go talk to Bubba about it because I know I'm just gonna make it worse if I try and discuss it with my significant other, that is me cheating on my significant other because I went to my best friend?
It could be, sure. Because
I mean, sometimes we just
here's
need moments to cool down.
here's another little snippet. What constitutes cheating is dependent on the expectations of the relationship.
Oh, okay.
See, I
Hmm.
was gonna say, like, cheating is one of those things that have to be defined by relationship standards and practices. Like,
Mm-hmm.
a deep conversation in the context they mentioned it doesn't mean a casual conversation. It doesn't even mean an emotional conversation. Deep has a very broad meaning, which if we're going by the most common, vernacular for the word deep, then what you're really talking about is something that you should be having with your partner. So in other words, if like Lorelai and I were fighting, to use this as an example, I would not go and then have like a serious heart to heart talk that I should be having her with someone else. I should be having it with her. A lot of relationships today fail because of lack of proper communication. So if you'll hear people say things like, you can open up to all your friends, but not to me. And then they'll give an excuse as to why. But
Hmm.
whatever the excuse is, you are robbing your partner of an attempt to grow closer to you. You're purposely walling them off from your feelings, thinking that they're not going to be able to handle it or not giving them the opportunity to say something. And the problem with seeking an outside source, advice is great if the person is wise and has experience and they're a positive force to look to. But a lot of times people seek out their friends who have no better luck at relationships than they do, or maybe even worse.
And not
And
only
really, at that point, they're not seeking advice; they're
not only
wanting
that
an echo
though,
chamber.
right? And not only that, like if I go to a friend that dislikes you, my husband, then the advice is going to be completely different than if I go to say a therapist who is non-biased and has no opinion of either one of us.
Necessarily. There are some people who can dislike someone and still be unbiased.
Yep.
It's far and few between.
It's far and few between, but I'm just saying, I know some people.
I do too.
So,
But
what is
it,
considered
Really?
cheating in the type? What?
I was
What?
taken aback a bit because I've met quite a few people in my life, and I can honestly say I can't think of m- enough to fill up a handful of people who can honestly separate their emotions from their thoughts. Like,
so like the reason why I said for me, I my dad would sit there and he would anytime, and I know this isn't about cheating, but if me and my mom got into it, my dad would look at it unbiasedly, and even though he knew how much like he disliked my mother, he would look at it and be like, okay, well, where could you have went differently? Like there are very few people in the world that can do it, but like my dad could do it. Like him and my mom did not ever get along because of my mom, but like if I had an issue, it was okay, well, where did you go wrong in that conversation? What did you say that escalated that conversation? Where could you have gone differently to lead it in a different direction instead of, oh, well, it's all her fault, it's all her fault.
I've learned to get both sides. I don't do a whole he said she said. I go, okay, well, tell me your side and then, tell me what happens in regards to them and let's talk it through.
Now, I'll admit, depending on the person, no, I cannot be biased.
Yeah. I think it depends on your people. So like if Jesse came up to me and was like, I got into a fight with, I'm just going to say so and let's say I'm also friends with so and so, then, I'm going to go to her and I'm going to pretty much ask her for her side and go, okay, what's going on here? Let's talk it out. Let's, get calm first and then, kind of see what I can do to help to provide advice that will work for her to fix whatever's going on. Does that make sense?
I mean,
I love when
it
everyone goes
does
quiet.
on paper. The problem
Hmm
is that
But in
it's
in practice, it's yeah, people have a hard
yeah,
time in
and
practice.
it's not a knock on anyone. I'm not a person who can claim that I'm unbiased in all situations. It's just I think situations is the key word, just like relationships. I think a person can be unbiased here, but not over
Hmm
here, right?
And
Like,
it's hard when it comes to your close friends. Like if Laura and
yeah,
Jesse came to me with issues, I'm sorry, I'm gonna back my bitches up. I love my girls dearly. I'm gonna do my damnedest to make sure that we figure out what's going on.
What is considered cheating and the types of cheating in a relationship can vary depending on gender. I don't remember where I got this article, but in this article it listed like a handful of things that women think consider cheating, and um,
Hmm
the men's section was like two.
What were
So,
the men's? Since
um,
it's shorter than the women's.
well, we'll start with the women's because I find it interesting. So,
hmm
active online dating profiles is considered cheating.
No.
Now, are
Mm,
they actively using it or are they just active?
yeah,
Uh,
because you said
keeping your on
active.
keeping your online dating profile active can imply infidelity even if you haven't gone on a date, is what they said.
But see, the thing is the fact of the matter is what if like you're not on them? Let's say you find that person, you delete them all.
Yeah, I
Because
don't.
I
I
can
think
say I will admit when I first moved up here, I was on a dating website and was talking to someone, and then I was talking to another person, and then I went out on a date with that person, then I realized I didn't like that person and I went with the other one, but we weren't like in a serious committed relationship.
Well, and you guys have told me when I was actively on dating apps because fucking hate them. That like I don't have to specifically talk to just one person at a time.
Right, but if you're in a committed relationship and then you're on
But if you're in a
what
here's the thing, if I'm in a committed relationship, I'm not on fucking dating apps.
exactly.
My focus is on them.
All right. So the second one is being emotionally attached to another person. And the description here is giving your attention to another person other than family and friends can count as cheating for certain women.
But what do you mean by
I do like
friends?
the additive of certain women.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Also, if you're not a friend and you're not family, then that, I mean, it's not
Just some
physical cheating,
stranger
but it's
that you
emotional
decided
cheating.
to like vent with.
I mean,
Yeah.
but who talks to just random strangers?
I mean,
I
I'm
Come on,
kidding.
we're all online gamers.
well,
You have to
I
ask that?
understand.
That's a
I
very good
don't
point.
emotionally open up to just some random stranger.
Yeah, but have you ever had that random stranger that you just hang out in a video game with and you're like, you know what? I gotta get this shit out. I'm never gonna see you again.
No,
No.
Really?
no, I've never
Mm-mm.
done that actually.
So I
I've
think I can
watched a
end
few people
some.
do that.
So
I'm
I
usually
think.
the one that gets the fucking emotional dump. Sorry, Jericho.
Oh no, you're fine. I was going to say I think this is also one that's so one thing we have to talk about. I mean, not talk about in any great length, but is we have to remember we all have a Western mindset. So the world is not the West, is broad
Mm-hmm.
reaching as we are. In other countries, it's not unheard of and not even taboo to have alternative relationships. For example, Japan. In Japan, um, because of the work hours and the stress and the life, men often will have an almost completely separate life, and women from their respective partners. Now they're going not necessarily going out and cheating, but they are within the confines of whatever agreement they've made, allowed certain things to happen.
Abilities.
And you can have almost like a couple type relationship with someone without there being a physical connection to it. And some people here would consider that cheating. There, it's an alternative similar to, any other outlet. Some people use exercise, some people use video games or hobbies, whatever. So whatever outlet you need in order to invest yourself in.
Mhm.
Or in the extreme cases, there's also people who have special, I don't want to say the word disorder, let's call it proclivities. So for example, there are non-binary people or um, people who are simply not sexual people. They have zero interest in sexuality or, you know, um, any physical contact, but they have emotional connections. So to
Okay.
them, that if that is the only connection that you have, they are less concerned that you find someone to find your physical needs. However, they are now concerned if you develop feelings, and our
To get
biology is
emotionally
meant to
attached.
do that. Like that's why sex and like pornography addiction is such a big thing, is because it drives us to connect with the thing we're seeing, even though that thing is fake.
Okay.
So this is happens too. Like, I've known people who've had open relationships, and they try to corral feelings by doing things like we can only have sex with another person if we're both there or we both agree to it. But the problem is you can't help what you feel, right? That's like those old songs would always
Hmm.
say, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
could just catch feelings because you're doing something meant to be between you and one other person. And I'm not necessarily trying to pigeonhole any particular style of lifestyle. I'm just saying that traditionally that's how men and women tend to couple together.
Well, and
We're
I
not.
mean, if you think about like how we have lawyers and doctors and our nurses and everything, like I've been told when I was working in a law firm, I had a work wife and a work husband, you know? Like we just make these relationships if when we're working like long ass hours to just kind of okay, I don't get to see my wife, my husband, my girlfriend, my whatever, during hours that we're both awake or available
And we're actually going to
during
come
majority of the
back.
time.
We're actually going to come back to work husbands and wives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The next one is sending flirtatious messages. 60% of women considered sending flirty texts to someone other than their partner as cheating. You're crossing a line with the person receiving the texts and implying that you are available to take the relationship further. So,
This one's an interesting one.
Why?
because in today's culture, you have things like OnlyFans, right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And more women are using their sexuality than ever to become prosperous in the world, right? For a time, in history always kind of goes up and down with it, but women get to that point where like, oh no, we need to be prim and proper, and then now it takes a tonal shift, and all of a sudden it's use your feminine wilds. And so I think it's funny because so many women consider things like that cheating, and there's still as many women who talk about using it to their benefit.
I know people who are just very flirty and never really mean to like express being like, "Oh, I could take this relationship further." It's usually just like a flirty personality kind of thing that they just have and they're just friendly, so
How is it any different than, let's say, your significant other paying money to watch porn?
But is it?
Back to the only I don't okay, I will say in my marriage, I when I was pregnant with my first child, I was not I wanted nothing. I was no. I didn't want him to touch me. I didn't want him to look at me, nothing. But I understood he's like a 20 some year old male. Go ahead and watch whatever you want. Just do whatever you want, not like cheat, but I look at it, I guess for me, it's as long as you're not like saying, hey, I love you, I want to meet you, I want to meet up with you. I guess to me, OnlyFans is just like porn to me.
If it's two way, if the sexy talk and the flirtation is two way, it's not just porn. Porn is one way, right?
Well, how's it any different than do they still do like the sex phone hotlines or whatever?
oh, phone sex. I got told I could be a phone sex operator.
I mean,
They
because
they still do them, though I couldn't tell you where, because outside of like a regular TV infomercial or like where I was actually seeing it most when I'm working for business. When I'm in hotel rooms, like late at night, those little like just
mm-hmm.
It's funny.
commercials will come on
Yeah.
and be like, "Oh, people are looking for singles in your
Oh my
area."
And
God,
yes,
I used to see those all the time. I was like, "What the fuck?"
and that's
Well,
another
so
thing that borderlines that I would be pissed, but I don't consider that cheating.
So here's my thing when it comes to Lorelai's point. I think it's a very personalized thing. Some people will justify or allow certain things to happen, whether they disagree with it or not. But I think to most people, men and women, I think it's interaction, not just a back and forth, but engagement is the problem. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
say this: I had a friend, and this friend had a wife who was feeling, her age, so she decided to just want to feel sexy again. But instead of going to her man to make this happen, not that he was neglecting her, but trying to spice it up or do whatever they need to do, she decided to, do what most women do these days, which is get attention through Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff.
mm-hmm.
And then one thing leads to another, and you find yourself in a precarious situation because it's like an interactive romance novel, right? Everybody
Mm-hmm.
remembers their mom and dad from back in the day. They used to read these trashy romance novels or various things. Well, sexting and flirtatious texting and all this kind of stuff is basically the same thing, but it's now become a slippery slope, right? To Lorelai's point, if she was paying some dude to whisper sweet nothings to her, it would offend me way more than if she just was like, "Oh, I like to go on a website and listen to sexy audiobooks." Or no matter how explicit they may be, the point is that she's still listening to a recording. It's not a personalized recording.
There's no
And to
emotional attachment.
exactly, and to
Mm-hmm.
take it a step far back, like take it a step back away from like pornographic, Lorelai has a lot of streamer friends that she follows or listens to or supports, and at times some of them are men. Now, there's a part of me that goes, "Why are you seeking this person's, interaction? I know they were there before I was there, but now I'm here, so why are they there?" Right? Now, I'm not jealous and I'm not angered about it. I don't ever talk to her about it because it's a passing thought. But that in most relationship is enough to sow a seed of doubt.
Actually,
But like,
next. That's on here, kind of, along those lines. Other acts that can be considered cheating: going to dinner with someone you have had feelings for in the past, keeping constantly in touch with your ex through social media, and visiting a strip club alone or with the guys. Those were the
Okay,
other
I
ones.
hold on. I have bone to pick with that one.
Which,
Not the strip club one.
the keeping
I
contact,
agree with the keeping contact with the ex one. That's a no-no for
unless
me.
there's children
So
involved.
okay,
Oh yeah,
because I
unless
was
there's
going to
children involved,
say,
yeah.
because there have been times where, like, when I visited my ex-husband, or he comes up here and we hang out, we talk, we joke around, we're still friends, we're just not in a physical relationship anymore, and we're not married, but we want our children to see that we
You can still interact with each other.
mhm.
You
Yes.
can
So
still be
that's
civil
where I
without
get,
being together.
yeah, that's where I have the issue, is
Oh,
they sit there and they say stuff
Now,
like that.
going to the strip club with the boys is a bit of a weird one because I do know a
No.
lot of men tend to have like bachelor parties and they tend to like
Fucking
strippers and shit
cares?
okay.
like
They're
that.
Look,
throwing $1 bills
when,
at ladies shaking their butts. Let the women make the money.
when I was pregnant with my
Really though.
first and the sperm donor was not home because he was out at the strip club, it pissed me off more because he didn't take me with him than the fact that he was there without me. Or, like, there at all. You know
I
what I
can,
mean?
yeah, I see that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
would want to go with.
I wouldn't. I've never been to a strip
I'd be
club.
like, cool, let's go look at titties.
I've never
The
like.
female strippers were more entertaining to watch than the male strippers.
I don't want to see a penis flopping around. Sorry.
Helicopter go.
I just like how
It
you
wasn't
said that.
complete nudity in the strip club that I went to. Just so
No,
you
I
know.
Aw.
know, but I don't find that at, like, if my significant other is like, hey, I'm gonna go to the strip club with the guys, but like, okay, just bring me some deep fried pickles back, please.
Okay, so the actions that men counted as cheating in terms of this article, which I did not write down where this article came from, I apologize.
Which were probably like what, physical?
Sexual intimacy,
Yep.
Hmm.
not being
And
exclusive. So that online dating profile comes back.
hmm.
Yeah.
So I think exclusivity often gets wrapped up for men too plainly. To men and women in a lot of ways are different, but in a lot of ways they're the same. Emotionally, the processing, handling, and use of emotions is different.
Hmm.
How we express our emotions, but
Sorry,
the
that was
requirements of
crunchy.
those emotions are the same. So exclusivity for men, this is why men seek virgins out over women who've had a high body count and different things like that. It isn't because the act of them having sex or being sexual or having other partners in and of itself suddenly taints them or whatever. It's a misconception. The reason why is because when they're with just you, they're with just you. But for every man who's come before, he's no longer just with you. He's now with everyone you've been with. And as much as a lot of women claim to, well, I would judge a person for who they are, no, you won't. All human beings judge by experience. That's how
Mm.
it works. So if you've had 70 men and 70 different sexual experiences, you will know how many of them are similar, how many of them have the same technique or prefer certain parts over another or whatever. All of that's going to taint your opinion of the person you're with. So for men, when you're not exclusive, when you have any sort of interaction that isn't focused on them, you are either having a backup plan because you're not that invested, or you're opening yourself up for danger that you may not even realize is going to happen, because you hear so many tragic relationships of, I never meant for this to happen, we just fell in love, or blah blah blah. Well, if you weren't doing X, Y, and Z, that wouldn't happen. No one just walks down the
Right.
street and goes, love at first sight, I'm ditching my marriage.
Right. Right. Okay, so I have. I'm sorry. Did anybody have anything to say about that?
I wanted to make a comment about the whole like why men prefer like women to be virgins. I don't think it's 100% that. I think they get the idea of, oh, you've already slept with somebody, so you must have a high body count. But me personally, I don't really give a rat's ass if she has a high body count or if he has a high body count. My big thing is you're with me. We should be focused on like each other and not the previous people we've slept with. Because I mean, there are plenty of songs that sit there and, they're written mostly by women who've experienced the whole like, oh, well, you want, a virgin, but you also want a freak in the sheets. So it's like, which one do you want? Because I can't be both,
Mm,
you know?
right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It did. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Repressed nerds will
Keep
tell
my
you can be
opinion.
both.
what, Jericho?
I said
What?
repressed nerds will tell you can be both. One you can get with practice. You don't you don't have to high five the neighborhood to learn a few tricks.
Well, no, 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 but that's not what I mean. Even if that relationship, let's say that relationship doesn't work out. You were a virgin to begin with. You learned your few tricks or whatever, but that relationship doesn't work out. Okay, I'm no longer, that person's no longer a virgin, so now it's
Ruined for everybody else.
yeah, apparently
Right.
ruined for everyone else.
Right. So,
Mhm.
brides.com.
Brides?
Yeah, don't know why a bridal magazine has these articles, but
Oh, way to fucking make the brides worry
brides.com.
about their grooms.
Yeah, from October 17th of 2023. 5 different types of infidelity. Number 1, opportunistic infidelity. It occurs when one is in love and attached to their partner but succumbs to their sexual desire for someone else.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
2, obligatory infidelity. And it's based on the fear that resisting someone's sexual advances will result in rejection.
But if you're already in a relationship, why were you fearing rejection from someone
What if
else?
your boss came up to you and said, "Sleep with me or else"?
That's what HR is for.
Yeah.
I'm
Like if
just
my boss
giving
is
you an
making
example.
advances.
No,
Yeah,
no,
well,
no. I know.
no, no, but
I
we're
understand it.
but we'll run with it. If my boss is making advances and I'm sat here telling you no, that's HR right there.
Right.
But then you also have to realize other places other than here, like Jericho
Mhm.
did point out, there is no HR
Yeah,
or
exactly.
But there has to be, I'm sorry, but there has to be a place for employees in other places, to air grievances like that.
have you ever looked at a sweatshop?
No, and I really don't want to.
I mean, even excluding workplaces as the sole, there like in other countries, for example, um, it's an embarrassment thing. In certain cultures, it doesn't matter if you were defiled by uh, you know, uh, a guy because he just wanted you. That's not the taboo. The taboo is who's the guy. So, for
Mhm.
example, if some high religious order leader or some big, rich person in the town or, whatever title or moniker or wealth or whatever power they hold, if you rejected that, you could be seen as bad by the culture you're in, right? If it's your culture to give yourself away to whoever your father decides and you reject
Mhm.
that, it doesn't matter if you have all the right reasons in our ideals in that culture, you're now a pariah.
Yep.
Mm.
So you might be forced to do that in order to comply.
And it's also in some cultures, it doesn't matter if you did it just because you had a gun to your head, you're gonna be blamed no matter what.
Yeah.
The
And your
opposite is
husband
true.
won't want, yeah.
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 Number 3, romantic infidelity. This is what you would like the when you hear of somebody having an affair. It's a rarely long-term affair, and it's where the person who's doing the cheating doesn't plan to leave his spouse or her
Oh
spouse.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They do those in TV shows all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I know one in real life,
Mm.
but the husband got smart and left.
Mm.
Yeah. Number 4 is a conflicted romantic infidelity. This occurs when people experience genuine love and sexual desire for more than one person at a time.
So like
Interesting.
like a polyamorous person.
Right.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Without the rules, right. It would be
Couples
considered
and
infidelity
whatnot.
if there was going outside of the rules of the
Mm,
polyamorous relationship.
okay.
Mm.
Number 5 is commemorative infidelity. and it occurs when a person is in a committed relationship but has no feelings for their partner.
Oh, that just
Ow.
makes me sad.
So, like, you're staying with your sperm donor because he's the father of your children,
But you don't love him.
but there's absolutely no other feeling besides hatred there for him.
Stay
Oh,
together for the kids.
Yeah, I hate that.
yeah.
I was
That just
actually
makes
told
me
that.
sad.
Um, that's how I would see romantic is if somebody is trying to get something they don't have, right? Either they lost the love in the relationship or it's at a point that it's so toxic or broken and there no one's making a genuine effort to fix it that they just want something to make them feel normal
Better.
and loved instead of feeling like crap or underappreciated or abused. They're
Mm-hmm.
seeking shelter, really.
But see, I've never understood that if you're not getting something from your partner, you should either discuss it with them or leave.
I've just never understood the people that go, "Oh, you're having this person's baby. You should stay with them even though they're bad for you."
Well, just
Like
that
I've never understood that.
the if you're unhappy in a relationship and it's toxic, why don't you just leave? Because emotionally abusive relationships are hard to leave.
No, and I'm not trying to like put the blame. It's just like let's say it's a normal, healthy, there's no abuse or anything like that. Like just leave.
Oh,
Like
it's a
I can
comfort level thing, wouldn't it be? You're comfortable
yeah,
where
It
you're at.
depends how long yeah, it depends how long you're in there. And plus that brings in the other cheating that you were talking about, Laura, of like if it's a safe, like happy relationship, but you fall out of love with somebody, but you just stay, there's nothing saying of like, with your instance of I'm not in love with this person, I'm having their kid, I'm staying in the relationship, it just it topples on top of itself, you know.
Well, Laura makes a good point though. Sometimes it's you think you're doing the right thing no matter
mhm.
how damaging it may seem. Like, for example, this happens with a lot of like new uh homosexuals. Like they haven't discovered what they are yet. They haven't come clean or even identified what it is about them that's different. They're still kind of figuring it out. And they're in this long-term relationship with somebody who's like their best friend. And they realize at some point that there's no romantic entanglement there, that they've gone through these motions trying to seek answers in their own life, but now they're in this relationship with kids and a wife or husband, and they realize that they're gay and they'll never be happy. It leads to them either cheating or sacrificing their actual happiness to continue to pretend for the sake of their partner, right? They don't want
And
to
I
hurt their
mean,
feelings and
some
tear
of
apart a
them
family.
are able to tell their partners and they can, but they don't ever split from their partners, It kind of becomes like mom and dad's secret of like, this is why dad's out so late, or this is why mom's out so late, and it just tears and tears and tears because
Sure.
nobody is actually happy.
Right. But that's why people don't leave in those situations. I think is what Laura's point was she's trying to make is that it's not always as cut and dry as I need to look out for me. Like that's a common thing today. People are, all about themselves. If you're not
Yeah.
happy, leave. If you're not happy, run. If you're not happy, drop that person. But you don't.
Yeah, and I stayed in my marriage a lot longer than I should have because I felt stuck. So I'm not like trying to sit there and be like, oh well, everybody should be able to do it. It's just I look at it and it's like, well, if it's a healthy relationship, there's no physical, emotional abuse. I can't understand staying just because, oh well, it's comfortable.
Right. Or I'm
Like
stuck.
if
I
it,
can't financially get out, or I
yeah,
have no one or nowhere to go.
yeah, like that was my thing is I had no financial stability to leave on my own. I had no support system. Like that's a totally different story. Like I understand that. And like being emotionally abused or physically abused. Like I understand those situations. It's
Mhm.
the ones where everything is like
Is
seems
fine.
perfectly fine and you still do it. That's where I get confused.
Well,
Yeah, those are the ones
because
that
on
I'm
the
always a little
outside
bit
it looks
confused on as
perfectly fine,
well.
but on the inside, who knows what goes on?
Think about it in the terms of holding a job. A lot of us stay in a job that we hate because of fear of what losing what we have, right? Like we are smart enough to go out and get a better job or to get a job in a new field that we want to. And there's nothing stopping us. We're not poverty stricken. without money in the bank. We're not having these things that normally make as a reason why we couldn't leave. But just the fear of, I'm going to give up everything I know that's safe and mundane, even though I hate it, for the chance of something that could totally land me on my face.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's enough to paralyze you into inaction and makes you unhappy working a dead end job because you don't want to risk not working a dead end job, right? And that kind of stuff applies to so many situations, not just this one. But that it does explain why there's people who are in seemingly a normal, healthy relationship that's just not working, but yet they don't leave. It's, better the devil you know than the one you don't.
Number two is online affairs. Relationships with intimate and sexual undertones that thrive online through text calls and video calls.
Yep. I mean, I think that goes right with flirty texting, right? Like we kind of tried to cut lines as to what is or is not acceptable, but I think that's where personal choice comes in, right? Some of
Yeah,
us
I
are okay with
agree.
certain things, some of us aren't. Like I'm a role player and have been for many many years. And a story I told Lorelai about a long time ago was a friend of mine. We all had friends, we knew each other. Well, the girl he dated for a long time was obsessed with him, but she was very like, I'm a boss babe long before that was a thing. And she rubbed people the wrong way all the time. We never got along because she was pompous and I don't deal with people well like that. Well, when we would role play, two of our characters ended up having a relationship in game. Now, it was never like we went on secret role playing dates or anything crazy. It was always amongst the group, but it was just different. In that one instance, those particular characters, because none of the characters ever did, we got along. There was a story built and all that sort of stuff, but it was like a light switch. The moment the game stopped, we went right back to fighting like cats and dogs, and I was like, I don't want nothing to do with this chick. Get her out of my house,
And,
because we can
and see,
separate from
yeah,
that.
yeah, and I can see, like, I find it disrespectful for my characters in RP to be in a relationship with somebody in the city because I have a husband outside of the city. And
Yeah.
although the two should be separate and are separate, I still feel like I'm disrespecting him while I'm in city in a character
Yeah. I
with
mean,
another
I
I
look
I,
at
j-
person.
it
I agree with
differently.
well, and
Like,
I agree that it's definitely personal, like preference of who's comfortable with what. Like you said, Laura, every city that you've gone into, you've made it very clear and very apparent that you don't want to be in a relationship with somebody in the
Absolutely,
city.
absolutely,
I mean, I
because
think
of
the only relationship you had was with me because people wouldn't leave us alone.
right, and that was all because I wanted to be respectful to my husband.
Exactly. Yeah. And I respected that for you as well. Because I find it commendable to want to, that you have that kind of respect for him.
Like I used to have a strong online presence in a lot of games and places like Second Life, where I knew a lot of people, and I still have friends there that on a very rare occasion I might talk to. But I've, even before Laurel, I withdrew from there. Um, and when we got together, I think I've logged into my account like all of maybe like 5 times in the last couple of years, and normally it's just to draw money out. And it's not because there's like a plethora or black book, kind of friends list that I have on there, but because I had relationships online in the past and people know me there and from various things and that we've talked about, those people tend to be more of your polyamorous and things that I knew back then. So to be in a committed, straight laced, regular kind of relationship to them is weird. So, when I went on there and they would be like, "Hey, where you been?" I was always just like, "Well, I got married. Real life has got me, and I don't have a place here anymore." Like the things I used to come here to do, like look for someone to hang out with or talk or invest my time in, I don't have that need anymore. So, even though we're friends, we used to travel in those same circles, right? So, I no longer need to be a part of that because I have someone to devote myself to. And they respect that, but at the same token, I wouldn't feel comfortable hanging out again because it's kind of like having friends in the porn industry, right? You're not running around cheating, but you're putting yourself in a compromising situation potentially. Like hey, if I told her, they want to take me to the Playboy Mansion every weekend, like, why would I go to there for that? Like, because they have great sodas. Like, there's a reason you're going, right? And even if you plan to be on your best behavior, you're willingly jumping into the fire that doesn't need to be.
Now, at the
So,
same time, though, if you, Jericho, if you were in an RP city with Chesh and Jess and you were flirting and hanging out with them or whatever, and you took your flirtatious comment with one of them outside the city, oh yeah, I would consider that cheating.
Me and Bubba, like we sit there and we talk every day. Like he is my confidant. Like, but there is no like physical attraction. There's nothing there. We're just best friends. That's it. That's just how we are.
Okay.
And but I still sit there and say, "Oh, well, love you," or "Oh, you love me," and it's like, "I love you." Like it's saying it as like a platonic way. Now, is
Well, I
that
believe in
considered?
telling your friends I love you.
But is it technically considered cheating if it is a male counterpart for a female, or if a male saying it to a female
Jericho,
friend?
do you feel like I'm cheating when I tell the boys in Discord that I love them when I'm hanging out?
so are you asking, do I consider it an act of cheating based on what we discussed, or do I personally feel cheated
Personally.
upon?
Personally, I think everything honestly is taken in a what you personally feel.
So for me, I wouldn't consider it cheating per se, but it would be like, if someone did something awkward to make you go like, why are you doing that? Or whose underwear is this? I don't wear these, that kind of stuff. Like, it's not that I think she's cheating, but it gives me a momentary pause, and a momentary pause in my mind might as well be like an hour-long pause for an average person.
Well, I do say love you guys to these two whenever I leave voice chats with them too, because
Yep,
they're
I
like
say
my
the same
sisters,
thing.
you know?
Yeah, and I get it, but it's the same pause because you have to remember, my ex-wife also liked women.
Right. Okay, we're gonna move on to number 3. This one is interesting. It's financial infidelity.
So like a sugar baby and a sugar daddy?
No, it's kind
I
of
was
like,
thinking like OnlyFans, but you don't tell your partner about it.
or that's a good one. Like you're in a relationship, you share finances, and there's big chunks of money that are going missing, or your partner won't tell you what he's spending or she's spending money on, gambling or drugs or, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like hiding what you're spending the money on.
I never thought of that.
Especially if it's earmarked for something else. You know what I mean? Like Jericho and I have a credit card that we're trying to pay off jointly. If I were to go and turn around and spend the money that I normally give to him for the credit card on something and not tell him, that would be financial infidelity.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I don't really have much to say on that one.
I never thought of that. Huh. Well, that explains a lot.
Number 4 is emotional cheating, which we've touched on. Number 5 is fantasizing about someone else.
Okay, hold the phone. Hold the phone. What if it's like someone you would never go get with?
Like The Rock?
Johnny Depp.
Tom Hiddleston? What? Some people would consider that cheating, yes.
Oh.
Fantasizing about. Dreaming about is completely different because you have no control over your dreams, but fantasizing about them, you do.
Yeah, but it's Johnny Depp.
But Tyler Hoechlin, like, he's hot.
Jason Momoa, like, there's a list.
Jason Momoa. Oh, what's his name? From Magic Mike. The
Channing Tatum?
No, not him. Fucking hell. What's his name? Cowboy one. The guy that goes, we got a lot of lawbreakers.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
I've seen that movie like
what
once.
What the fuck is his name? I know his name and I can't think of it.
You have a computer in front of you. Look it up while I go on to the next one.
What I'm gonna do.
Number 6 is physical affair without sex. Quote unquote, we only kissed, we didn't have sex. And they emphasize.
You still kissed. You still cheated.
They have an emphasis on foreplay here.
Wait, isn't foreplay part of sex?
I thought so too, but it's not intercourse.
It's sexual foreplay. The word sex is in it.
Yeah, but foreplay means before. right?
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, young or old?
All
Sorry.
I
right,
don't
all
know.
right,
Probably.
all right.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think. All right, all right, all right. Probably young, young, honey, not old.
Okay.
All right,
Like,
all
how to
right,
lose a
all
guy
right.
in 10 days, young? Anyway, sorry.
Dazed and confused young.
Oh. Okay, so anyway, sorry. Physical affair, foreplay.
Yeah, no, that's cheating. Literally all you did was just not put it in. Like you
I
still
I
You
think
cheated.
just got them all hot and bothered and then finished the
Yeah.
job.
I think kissing is considered cheating.
You what?
I
Think
think
kissing is
actually I would
considered
be
cheating.
more pissed off if all of a sudden my significant other said, "Oh, well, all we did was kiss." I would be more offended by them just kissing than them actually just having sex.
Why?
Because for me, I and this probably sounds weird. If I'm just in it for sex, kissing is very intimate to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sex is not.
So like Pretty Woman.
So
Pretty
yeah,
Woman.
pretty much. So that's my thing. Is I can sit there and I could find any Tom, Dick, and Harry to have sex with, but I'm not going to kiss them if I don't plan on having some type of relationship or something with them
Mm-hmm.
because it's very intimate to me.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So yes, I do feel that kissing is cheating.
I do too.
Number 7 is having romantic feelings for someone else.
If you have like, what do you mean by romantic feelings? Though is the hard part.
Well, because also everybody's definition is different for romance.
My idea of romance could be totally different than my partner's, and me just going out to lunch with a friend
Could
could
be
could
considered.
be considered
Yeah.
romance when it's all strictly platonic. Like that's the hard part.
Yeah, I have nothing for that one. Sorry. Um, I'm gonna skip number 8. But number 9 is micro cheating, which is developing inappropriate and intimate connections outside of your relationship. Some of these could consist of stalking your ex on social media, having an active online profile on a dating site, flirting with other people, sending flirty messages, and lies, secrecy, and betrayal.
Well, yeah, isn't that the definition of cheating? Is you're lying about it?
Right? Okay, so micro cheating, of course, is cheating. Number 10, we go back to the commemorative fidelity. And it says here that this type of cheating happens when a person has fallen out of love and has no feelings for their partner, but they remain in the relationship because of an obligation. Number 8 is pouring your time and attention into a hobby. You can cheat on your partner with a hobby or interest. Devoting your attention and time to a hobby instead of your partner can constitute cheating. Instead of
So like if you're focused on just crocheting, that's considered
it
cheating.
can be. Instead of spending time with your partner, you will play games, engage in physical activities, or spend the weekend working. So, if I sat here and knitted the entire time, I know he feels
Mhm.
this way about the city, okay? Because I spend so much of my time in the scripts and in the city, I'm not spending time focused on him. And when he wants that
See,
attention, that can be considered cheating to some people because I don't stop what I'm doing to spend him, like, to give him the attention he's seeking.
I can see it, but at the same time, to me, that's also I don't know. To me, I don't consider that cheating, but I can see it.
I feel kind of attacked as I'm sitting here also doing my diamond
Diamond
painting.
painting while
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing
See,
this.
and I felt attacked when
I'm
I read
yeah.
that because I'm like, well, obviously I'm going to be encoding because that's something that's important to me too. And when he's playing his games, how am I not spending like? How is it cheating when he's doing his own thing? But I can see
Well,
it.
I can understand if like some people are maybe avoiding their significant other
Right.
by doing like a hobby or something, but it's literally just like the little things that we mentioned, like playing a game, crocheting, doing your diamond paintings. Like these are things that we enjoy that make us happy. That I'm sure you'd be more than happy to have like Jericho sit with you and, um join you for crocheting, or just sit with you for a little bit while you're
Well,
coding.
let's
Same thing
let's
for like,
clarify this now. That I knit. I don't crochet. Okay, there's a difference.
Yeah,
All right.
there is a difference.
Okay, let's move on, shall we?
The snobby knitters here, we knit, we don't crochet.
No, but in all fairness, the article says encourage hobbies, but in moderation.
Okay, but what
but again, there's nothing stopping you
what
from sitting there and
yeah,
inviting your
why doesn't
significant
he
other to
come
sit
sit with
with
you
you.
while you code?
Or let's say you
Or
sit in
you
a
go sit with
call while
him.
yeah, exactly. Or you guys sit in a call together while you're coding and he's doing something else. There's a thing of comfortable silence that you can have with each other.
Oh, we do
You
do
know?
that. I tend to forget when I'm in voice calls with him.
Exactly. So I mean, just I don't know. This one's a weird one because I'm just like,
But I can see it because if you're with a
I can't.
workaholic,
Yeah.
you don't spend any
Oh,
time
for
I
with the.
wouldn't really
workaholics,
What?
consider it
yes.
cheating though. I would consider it like a
Yeah.
form of abandonment in a
Mm-hmm.
I
way,
wouldn't even consider it a
or
form of abandonment. I think it's because we have addictions. That's why you call it a workaholic, an alcoholic, a drug addict. Like, some people are just addicted to needing something to do and not, and they don't know what that may be. And it might be, oh, well, my mind immediately goes to work when I'm just sitting here on the couch watching TV. So, you know what I mean? Some people are just wired to like, I have to go, go, go. So I don't think it's abandonment, and I don't think it's like cheating. I don't know.
So Jericho, I know when I spend a lot of time on coding, there are some times that you feel some sort of way because you do want my attention. But how do you feel when we're watching a movie and I'm knitting?
So knitting during the movie doesn't bother me unless I'm trying to get you to watch the movie because you need to pay attention to the points of the movie. Then you say, I am watching as you're staring down away from the movie. That's annoying because I don't feel cheated on. I just that's really high nor there when it comes to an emotional set of cheating. And I can shed some light to people who don't understand this phenomenon. So men and women tend to approach intimacy differently. And for men, I'll give you a good example for me. Physical touch and proximity has a lot to do with spending time to me. And I know this because when I was in previous relationships, I could sit quietly in silence with my arm around someone, and that's all I needed. But to me, that was a huge investment of emotional connection. Because guys, or even female friends I had, I didn't just randomly paw on for no reason, nor did I lean upon them or seek them to be close to me. We could be friends and at a distance. That's fine. With your partner, it's different. Now, why that's important is in the example she gave, like with watching the movie or with playing the game, it's about the little things. So if we talk about like some of the other examples of cheating for a moment, like texting, right? If you're watching pornographic material versus interacting with a pornographic star or an OnlyFans or whoever, it's different levels for different things. From my perspective, when people hobby cheat, simply being absorbed in your hobby isn't enough for me personally to be like you're cheating on me.
So this last article that I have is statistics, and it says that the percentage of men and women in 2017 who cheated on their partners was 20% and 13%. So 20% of men and 13% of women. There has been an increase in the rate of women infidelity since 1990 by 40%.
Really?
16% of married couples admitted to being unfaithful at some point in their marriage. 30% of individuals started cheating on their spouse with someone from their work environment. Came back to that
See,
work.
and that one, yeah, that one kind of makes sense to me because you're with these people all day, every day, and like, and if it's close proximity or not, like you're still with them. So that one makes sense. I mean, it's not good. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and praise people for it, but it makes sense to me.
According to research, 57% of marriages ended in divorce due to infidelity. 88% of ladies put more emphasis on emotional affairs over physical affairs. 77% of men confessed to engaging in some form of emotional affair, while women accounted for 91%.
Mm.
91%. That's like almost
Well,
all
I
women.
think women are more like mental, you know what I mean,
Oh,
than
we sure are.
physical. So
I mean,
like, well, Jericho also said this last time he was on. Like, we have a million things going on in our minds. So I think if we're not getting our like mental and emotional needs met, we go and we look for it with somebody else. If we even if we don't realize we're doing it with somebody else. So like Laura, if you and I are married and I'm not, getting what I'm needing from you emotionally and, mentally, and then let's say I meet Jesse and I'm getting that interaction that I need, then like, yeah, I see the statistic there because we can have physical needs met, that's the easy thing. It's whether our partner is still like mentally engaging with us because we think nonstop.
I can say from a men's perspective that cheating is a direct lack of something in the relationship. Now you can
Yeah.
say that to a lot of relationships, but for men large and by, it's when they feel unappreciated, when they feel undervalued, when they feel like I'm giving it 110% and there's no logical reason as to why it should fail. Um, they internalize it. It becomes there's something wrong with me. And when someone's like there's nothing wrong with you, you're not a broken toy, it's very enticing. And with women, it's more often it's not just I'm missing something, that does happen. A lot of women who cheat are they're trading up because like it's a different perspective in the dating world. Like women can go out and if all they ever wanted was sex, they have an ocean to drink from. Men, on the other hand, are the ones who get denied constantly. A very small percentage of us are lucky enough to be good looking and rich or whatever combination to suave and debonair to get women. The rest of us are out there like, you know, praying that it rains in the desert. So the physical is not so readily available without, you know, dipping into things like OnlyFans or prostitution or whatever, which is why those things are so rampant in cultures where it's either more acceptable or more accessible, is because uh, it's not something that's available in all cultures, especially in the West. And it's the opposite for women, right? If they're missing something emotional, that's really all they are missing because the physical most of the time is very easy for them to get. Now, it's not, I'll say, like, again, not all inclusive because there's plenty of women who cheated because their man hasn't touched them or touched her in, a year for whatever reason, right?
Mhm.
But
Well,
that's
and
usually
the
what you
the the
find.
cases that I hear of like, oh, so and so hasn't like touched me in a year is usually like after they've had kids or something like that, or that someone isn't feeling attractive in some sense, or it's a medical thing.
Well, I think it's self-sabotage actually has a lot to do with it.
That too.
And a combination, like when you're getting older, men especially, we start to lose our virility. And, you know, even if their women are strong and right by their side, they can't help feeling inferior because they're not the man they used to be.
mm,
So
right,
intimacy becomes a place of embarrassment. It starts off like, oh yeah, she's into me and we're about to do something, and then all of a sudden they realize where they're lacking in performance or whatever. And instead of being like they still want me, and that's the part they focus on the weakness, right? It's kind of like somebody who, lost a limb, right? It doesn't matter that their partner wants to dance with them. All they can think of is I'll never be able to run again, and that's making me
Mhm.
lesser in this person's eyes, even if they could care less.
right.
Um,
I think I saw somewhere that same sex marriages have less infidelity than heterosexual marriages.
I think a lot of it has to do too with their openness. They don't have the same sort of repressive view about sex and sexuality.
Hmm.
So if someone wants to explore something or if someone has something that may be a bit taboo for the average couple, I think they're more willing to discuss it because they're already on the fringe. They're already used to going against the grain of society, right?
right? In a review carried out by the American Sociological Department, it was discovered that an individual's finances are connected to marriage fidelity. According to the research, persons who depend on their spouse for their financial needs have a higher probability of cheating than those who are financially independent. Infidelity is likely to increase by 15% when a man is economically dependent on his wife and is at 5% for a woman who financially relies on her husband.
Does that go back to the ego thing?
I think so,
Where
yeah.
where like he feels less of a man because he has to depend on his wife to pay the bills?
It's not always that. I mean, that definitely happens with people, but it's a double-sided coin. Some people feel less because they of traditional roles, um, or it's also because of the dynamic, the power shift in a relationship. So whoever is the caretaker, regardless of their gender, uh, is usually also sort of the emotional support and the shield by which the family is sheltered from the world, right? They take on all the stress and the headache and the whatnot. But in doing so, there grows a resentment with their partner who, although may be contributing, is often the benefactor of that sheltering force. So when that happens, it can drive a wedge between them, um, because they they kind of begin to look down on their partner. Not that they necessarily act upon it, but there's a division. It's a definite hard division when one person makes more money or one person is seen as the protector and caretaker.
This is the first relationship that I've been in that Jericho takes care of the rent, the utilities, and his car payment and credit cards and whatnot. And I take care of my credit cards. So our finances are separate, but they're combined, if that makes sense. Normally, in every other relationship or any other living situation I was in, I was the one that was making sure all the bills were paid and the utilities, like the rent and everything, was covered. And it would come out of my pocket. And people were supposed to help, but they didn't. Where here, I give Jericho my money and say, take care of what you need to do.
Not all of it, by the way.
Not
We
all of
have
it.
separate.
Yes, not all of it. Yeah.
Make it sound like I'm just mugging
Yeah,
her
he,
every
he
day.
takes my entire paycheck. No, no, he doesn't. Because, I have my own bills to pay from before we were
But
together.
I understand that, but when you're in either a long-term committed relationship or a marriage, I don't believe in what my money is my money and your money is your money. It's for the betterment of the relationship because financial struggles is
Right? And, we actually
I
have this
like
dispute, actually, because I feel
I
like my debt is my debt. Where he says, no, we're in a marriage now. Your debt is my debt.
see, okay, so
thank
I
you,
see I
Jericho.
see I see both sides of this. So I see like being able to have like, your bills put in one account and like, that's the account you pay your bills with, and then having like separate money of like, oh, well, this is, what I want to do, that I want to buy another Sims pack or stuff like that. But I do agree that like, student loans and shit like that, like if your significant other wants to help you pay those, I'm not gonna fucking say no if my significant other wants to help me pay my
But
student
I do.
loans.
I I
I
I
know.
want to handle my debts
Yeah.
because they are my debts. You know, he doesn't need to pay for my 6 years of college, 7 years of college.
Yeah. But I mean, I like the idea of, if I ever, Lord willing, if I ever get a significant other, I like the idea of doing a joint account of, you figure out how much your bills usually are and you put a little extra aside each and every time, but then you both have kind of your own spending money.
Yeah.
Just, like if, because I know couples where it's like, oh, well, I want to buy so and so a gift, but, our accounts are linked and they're going to see it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But again, that could also lead
So
into the whole cheating thing as well, because you don't have ability to see the accounts. But that's just me, because I like being able to, if I want to buy them something, I want to be able to buy them and give it to them as a surprise.
I can get where you're going with it, and I'll tell you that I think it's gets a little bit into the territory of being sort of stereotypy, but I will say that, like in our instance, I am the one who proposed keeping our finances separate when we originally talked about combining them, but I didn't do it for freedom's sake, and I didn't do it to um, as a protective measure, a point that I was going to make way back when. But a lot of people keep a buffer, like like they keep those only fish accounts or whatever, plenty of fish, whatever it's called. Um, and they're not looking to cheat, but in the back of their mind, they want a backup plan.
Well,
They
and I
don't
can
know if the person. Oh, go
I
ahead.
also think but you're saying like, keeping everybody's finances separate. I was also thinking of like if it's an abusive relationship, because Jericho, I'm sure you know as well as I do that there are just some abusive relationships where like as soon
Sure.
as you put your finances together, whoever's the one, whether it's the man or the woman in the situation who's getting screwed over here, isn't financially stable on their own. So I know that there are a lot of people who like, okay, we'll separate finances, but we'll put money in this account for, bills.
Jericho, why did you suggest that we keep our finances separate?
So in today's society, especially, people are much more guarded about that sort of stuff. There's a level of paranoia that's taken over relationships. Um,
Of they're just going to drain the account and leave.
well, not just that, but just anything that's bad. It's kind of like okay, so women, right, carry pepper spray. A lot of women.
Hmm.
There's almost no woman I've run into who doesn't have some form of defense on them at any given time. Even though statistically you're in one of the safest places you could ever be, and most people don't even know anyone who's been physically assaulted in any close proximity. But the reality is that there's bad people in the world that do bad things. So they err on the side of caution, sometimes to the level of paranoia. Relationships have begun to mimic this. Everyone is so accustomed to cheating or leaving at a whim's notice that they have all these sort of backup plans in place, or they lack the desire to fully commit to somebody and be beholden to someone, and that's how they look at it. If I combine our checking accounts with you, I'm going to have the potential of all this bad happening, even though they ignore all the good that comes of it and all the saving time and things that come with that. They just, desperately want to be independent and want to keep things separate, which is fine. But in our case specifically, like Laura described, she came from situations that were very negative. So just like you get a rescue puppy, right? They're going to have tendencies of PTSD. They're going to have tendencies of trigger moments about things from their past. Money is a huge problem for people with bad relationships. So when we got together, I suggested keeping them separate so she felt comfortable. She knew where her money was going. If she needed to do something for her children or her family, she could do it without my interference.
Without feeling guilty that I was taking his money to help my family.
Hmm.
Exactly. She controlled
Makes
her
sense.
finances, right? And she pays so to her share of the bills and rent and everything else too. It's not as if I'm doing this alone out of, the goodness of my heart. Although those conversations come up. For instance, if she wants to look at getting a new job, she's worried about not having income until she finds a new job, right? And starting a new career can be kind of iffy, especially if you don't necessarily have a prospect in the pocket. I'm like, look, that's fine. If we have to tighten our budget, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But in her mind, she's like, no, I can't have you paying for me. And that's why I tell her that it's no longer a you. And
Yeah, because
it
I feel like I
isn't
need to pull my own weight.
I
right. And
mean,
that
Laura, you and I are kind of the same in that aspect of like, I don't like receiving gifts. Well, not that I don't like it. I feel very awkward because I like to
No,
give things
I hate
to
asking
people.
for gifts.
Yeah, I don't like doing that shit either. I don't like asking for stuff. I don't like bothering people. To me, if I have to ask for something, I'm bothering you. You know what I mean?
Right. By the way, did I show
So
you
So
my?
I
it,
understand
it
completely.
so it's like me. I would sit there and say, "Hey, I need a new microphone. Can I get a new microphone?"
Hmm.
Hmm.
Why are you asking? Well, I just want to make sure it's okay. It's just order it. Like
Yeah,
like
that's
I
usually
still
how it is. Is
ask
like just
I
do
still
it.
feel like I have to ask to
Hmm.
I like I have attempted to clean my keyboard. It was an expensive keyboard. I'm gonna try cleaning it again and everything, but certain buttons aren't working because dog decided to dump coffee on it. I'll probably sit there and be like, "Hey, I need a new keyboard. Can I get a new keyboard?"
Yeah.
That's why you don't give your dogs coffee. They get jittery.
No.
Okay, so we're gonna start wrapping up here. I'm gonna read the verdict of this um, article. It says cheating happens among people of all ages and genders. Many non-religious individuals consider it morally unacceptable. Most Americans do not tolerate cheating in their relationships, and it is a common reason for divorce worldwide. Cheating can create misunderstandings in relationships, causing grief, depression, anxiety, and even PTSD in the betrayed partner. These problems can lead to a breakdown in communication between couples and divorce. So, yeah. And I think it's important to point out, too, that even if you don't think it's cheating, if you're talking to a guy online and flirting with him and, sending racy pictures or whatever, it may not seem like cheating to you, but to his girlfriend, it may. So I think as women,
Well, and that's
Jess,
also if
Trash,
you're
and I,
informed that they have a girlfriend.
right, and I think
Yeah.
it's important for
Yeah.
us to realize that our actions do affect other people. Thank everyone for joining us today. Please don't forget to comment. Let us know your thoughts on what you consider cheating and not. Um,
Like, subscribe, come back. We like you people.
Comment. Tell us what you think.
okay, yes, so have a great week. We'll see you when we see you. And thanks for coming. Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.